Reeta Hubbard, the NFL chick, is here. What's going on, Reeta? How are you?
Am still reeling from everything that we have witnessed in week one of the NFL season, because it's been a lot. It's a lot to digest, particularly after last night. It's just been a lot to digest.
See, so when you walk down the street, so I'm just going to give you some advice. When you're one of those people who walks by and says to somebody, a stranger, how you doing? And the stranger says, I'm reeling. Oh boy, see, you didn't ask for all that. Like you wanted the nice pleasantry. Like,
oops,
child, I'm reeling. Woo!
That was me.
Okay, you asked. No, I asked. And you know what? In all seriousness, that's the right answer. That's the right answer, because a football fan like you, a football fan like me, you look at last night. You didn't grow up a Jets fan, neither did I. However, Reeta, you look at that, and that was just what we saw last night. 4 plays into the game, there it is from Aaron Rodgers. And I knew, it's one of those cases where I didn't have to be there. I didn't need anybody to tell me. When I saw him stand up, look to the sideline, and then sit back down, I said, that's it. That's it. That is a season ender right there. It's just one of those plays, because we kind of go back and you look for the evidence. We all are trained to do that, right? Even though, we're not trainers or doctors. We go back and look at the play and say, oh, what did his knee do? And, what did his ankle do? You didn't know what particularly caused it. You just knew it was problematic as soon as you saw it. So Aaron Rodgers out for the season, and just really a damper on a night that was great for. I just want to make it clear, it wasn't just great for New York, y'all. It wasn't just great for New York. It was great for all of us, because another talking point for NFL fans to follow the entire season.
Yeah, and that's what we did all this off season. Holley, we've sat here and talked about the Aaron Rodgers to the Jets connection. They had a whole Hard Knocks about Aaron Rodgers. That's all we've heard about. That's all we've talked about. How good the Jets are going to be with Aaron Rodgers. Him bringing his own guys. Him bringing his own offensive coordinator. Everything was set up for them to be this team. And then yet he only played a total of 4 snaps in order to go out the way that he did. And unfortunately for me, I knew exactly what that looked like, because I had just seen J.K. Dobbins with the same type of contact and the same type of injury in that play happened the day before, and he ended up with an Achilles injury. So immediately, I'm not a doctor, okay? I get my degree from Doogie Howser University, okay?
There it is.
I knew right then and there that at minimum, it was some type of high ankle sprain. At most, it was some type of Achilles. And then, of course, once you start seeing the footage, when they found the slow-mo, you knew, because you saw the pop happen. And it's just really unfortunate, right? Like, Jets fans, I know we like to make jokes about them all the time. It's fun to do that, right? You can do that when your claim to fame was Joe Namath back. I wasn't born yet, so I don't know nothing about that. But they really felt like this was their year, and rightfully so, right? That defense still played amazing last night. They were phenomenal.
Yes.
Garrett Wilson played great last night, defended a pass and turned it into a touchdown. Dude is off the chain for that one. And then yet they have to go back to Zach Wilson. They thought that they had moved on from mediocrity, and here we are back at square one, because your guy Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately, is going to miss the entire season. So it was really sad to see, but the way that the game played out was great for Jets fans. Good for them for the defense to step up and play the way that they did. Good for them for allowing it to not go long into overtime, finishing it off with the punt return for a touchdown. But you just got to wonder, is that going to be a small glimpse of happiness, and they're looking forward to a season of gloom and doom moving forward?
Listen, those watching on Peacock TV just saw that graphic we put up. The gambling odds before the injury and post-injury. And although I'm not going to touch the AFC odds to win the AFC, odds to win the Super Bowl, Difference of plus 1,800 before Monday Night Football injury, plus 6,000 after. Not touching that one, not touching the AFC one. But to win the AFC East, oh, your boy, my bet's your money. My bet's my money on that one. To win the AFC East, I'm not mad at the plus 600, and I'm not convinced, even with Zach Wilson at quarterback, Reeta, I'm not convinced that the Jets are out of the divisional conversation. We got a marker right there on the screen. It says 9/12/2023. This is my receipt right now. This is my receipt, a visual receipt. September 12, 2023. Do not count out the Jets for the division. Count them out for the Super Bowl. Count them out for winning the AFC. Don't count them out for winning the AFC East. But before I get into that, I'll say, look, I don't know about you. I've never been a person who is superstitious. Now, I have my routines. I have habits. There's certain things I do, certain things I like to do. But it has nothing to do with, well, if I don't do those things, crazy things are going to happen. I do. When I walk down the sidewalk my entire life. Walk down the sidewalk, I have stepped on the cracks on the sidewalk. I have done that.
Did you break your mother's back?
I've done that. And my mother did not break her back. Good Lord.
She was good.
Lord.
Okay.
Thank you. So mom's good. And so I believed in, I love black cats. I love the number 13. All these things. Okay, superstitions I'm into, I'm not really ruled by superstition.
Okay.
Love the song by Stevie. But after last night, you start to think, okay, is something going on? If I'm a Jets fan, maybe I am thinking about superstitions and curses, because how could this happen then? When you got a 39-year-old quarterback, you have to protect him. That's why they only played one game in the preseason. That's why he's only played, part of the reason, he's only played one game in the preseason in the last 5 years. So you understand injuries can happen. But on that, you're just looking around, you're like, that's it? Everybody in the stadium, you're all excited. There's buzz. He comes out carrying the American flag pregame. He's hyped. He's the one guy. He's the one elite quarterback in the last generation who has said before it happened, my intention is to play for the Jets. You know how big that was for the psyche of your average Jets fan, that Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP, says he wants to play for you, and then 4 plays in, this happens to you? And as you pointed out, your backup quarterback is not somebody you love. Look, Natalie said yesterday, because Michael Smith, I'm just going to point it out here. I don't know if you saw it on social media, but Michael Smith had made some gestures to me during the show. I think they were inappropriate. He made some inappropriate gestures to me during the show, and it went out on social media.
Yes,
so he said some things yesterday. So I made some inappropriate gestures to him. They did not go out on social media. And Natalie said, okay, guys. She sent a text during the show. She said, guys, I think that's enough. No more double barrels. Okay, no more. Okay. So no more for me. But the Jets fans didn't get the memo from Natalie, because that's like the bird of New York. Okay, That is the official bird of New York City. So Zach Wilson comes into the game and does what Zach Wilson does, running around, throwing like a really stupid interception that Matt Milano picked off. The fan base, that was a symbol. That summed up the fan base right there. A guy who just wanted to let you know how he felt about it. So you've got Zach Wilson now. You went from Aaron Rodgers to Zach Wilson. And that really sums it up. It's cruel. It's just a cruel twist. Is there any chance, Reeta, you watch football for a long time, is there any chance that you and I and everybody else, we're all underestimating the abilities and the potential of Zach Wilson, that he may be able to come in knowing that he's the guy now, and he's had like a summer apprenticeship, a summer internship with Aaron Rodgers, that maybe he's capable of doing more than we think he is?
Maybe. I don't know. I wasn't high on
That's all you
Zach
got
Wilson coming out.
maybe.
I say that because I wasn't high on Zach Wilson coming out of BYU. I mean, I thought he was decent. I just didn't think that he was where I just didn't think that he was decent in terms of where he was drafted. I thought he would go to the NFL. Just didn't think that I thought he was a guy that you would, develop and sit him on the bench for a little bit. They threw him right in the fire, but that's who the Jets are, and that's what they do. I mean, listen, you hope that Zach Wilson learned some things from Aaron Rodgers in his short time with him. But ultimately, it basically is boiled down to, has Zach Wilson, number one, won the respect and love back from his teammates? Because we didn't forget what happened last year. We didn't forget that Zach Wilson did not take accountability in a loss, that they did nothing on offense, and then his teammates was wearing T-shirts. We saw that. We didn't forget. So you have to wonder if he is, has repaired his relationship with his teammates. And then now you hope that him and Nathaniel Hackett can come up with some ways to try to get him in good situations. You alluded to that interception last night. Terrible. And again, the Garrett Wilson touchdown should have been a pick as well, because he didn't throw it on the outside. He threw it on the inside. So that's the issue. I mean, you know that there's talent there. Just because I didn't think that Zach Wilson deserved to be drafted as high as he was, doesn't mean that I don't think that he had some talent. I feel the same way about Trey Lance as I feel about Zach Wilson, but I also think that Zach Wilson is in a position now where, unfortunately for him, there's too many good pieces around. So now the pressure is going to be, if this was a pressure cooker, it is through the roof. He has to come in and immediately find a way to be impactful for this team. They have too much talent on both sides, Holley. Now, that offensive line stinks. Let's start there.
Right.
I don't know what to say about that. So they're going to have to find ways to get that ball out of his hand fast. I do think that Breece Hall and we know Dalvin Cook will help him go along the way. And you can do play action. You can find ways to help him, but he's going to have to find a way to get it quick, fast. They play the Cowboys, who we just saw do what they did to the New York Football Giants in that same stadium the night before this coming weekend with Micah Parsons and company. So you saw what Buffalo did to that line. I don't know what's going to happen this weekend.
Well,
that's
wait a minute.
The scary part.
All right, listen, we're going to hear, because I have a thought on that, but first let's hear from the Jets, the devastated Jets after last night. And then I have a thought on what you just said about Zach Wilson and the Jets and what they can do. Here's Robert Saleh, I believe.
I have so much love for him, so my heart goes out to him. I have no idea what's happened. I got to see him at halftime for a second, but I know. He'll find a way to keep working to get back, but that's tough. It hurts us as a team, But my job as a quarterback is I got to step up, and I got to be able to be efficient as I can in that offense. And a lot of emotions, right? Like week one, opening day, trying to learn as much as I can from this guy, but I also got to make sure I'm ready to go. And so a lot of emotions. You got to be able to try and stay calm and, go out there and try and perform the best you can.
We still have a lot of faith in him. I think we've proven that by keeping him here and continuing to invest in him, and excited for him and his opportunity. What you love about Zach is just his mental makeup, the way he approaches every day, and how much confidence he has in himself. And I thought today was a really good example of what we think of him and how he can play. And he's going to be great. Yeah, he is.
Okay, that was Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh. So Saleh at the
Give
end.
me your thoughts.
Okay,
I need to hear this.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna play mediator and parent. Okay, this is my I'm gonna put my parent hat on, which I wear every day. Every day, you do too, Reeta. And I'm gonna put my mediator hat on because I understand everything you said about Zach Wilson is true. He did not take accountability last year. That game was just right down the street from where I am. They played the Patriots at Gillette Stadium. The final score was 10-3. They lost the game similarly to the way they won it last night. It was a close game. It was headed to overtime. Not in overtime. Marcus Jones gets a punt and returns it for a touchdown. They lose it 10-3. Now, he gets a punt. and returns it for a touchdown. So Zach Wilson was not the punter on that. He was not a part of the return team. I know he threw for fewer than 80 yards in the game. He was terrible in that game.
So we should,
but they
we
lost
should start
that,
and stop there.
Hey,
no,
but I'm going on. Let me keep going. Because you know what?
Right.
Zach Wilson, I'm going to assign responsibility to him. Yes, he deserves some responsibility and some blame for what he did last year and for what he said last year. He didn't get it. And the coaching staff got it. They understood how much he didn't get it. And they almost saved him from himself by benching him in favor of Mike White. But I just don't like the narrative that the reason the Jets lost their last 6 games, they lost 6 games in a row in 2022. A lot of it, let's say, give 55% of it to Zach Wilson. Hell, give him 75%. But he ain't the only reason. You lost your composure, you lost your mettle, you lost your resilience. Everybody's involved, from the front office to the head coach to other guys in that locker room. You're part of the reason you lost 6 games in a row and finished 7-10. So look, this year, Zach Wilson, he's got some changes. He started to make some changes, but the locker room does too. They got to change their mentality because they got enough. They got enough to kind of cobble it together and make the playoffs. Yes, they do. So I that's the one thing about the Jets. I don't feel sorry for them. Their mentality, I don't like it. It's a little broken mentality. It's a little unrealistic. You're 7-10. You're not just 7-10 because of one person, no matter how badly that a person performs, even if they play the most important position on the field. Sorry. You can do better. He can do better. They can do better too.
But I feel like that they've done that this offseason with the additions that they've made. Well, again, I have to see more from that offensive line.
A lot of it's here, though, too. A lot of it's up here.
Absolutely. I agree. And I agree that structurally and organizationally that plays a part into what we call trickle-down economics, right? And to what they are. So I agree. And I wonder if a guy like Aaron Rodgers can change the culture in terms of like how organizations feel in that regard. When you feel like you have a guy that can be a leader and that can really do things for your organization, I wonder if it was just too much pressure on Aaron Rodgers that I'm sure Aaron Rodgers was okay with taking, because we know the type of guy Aaron Rodgers is, right? We know that he likes that type of stuff, but I wonder if it was too much pressure for Aaron Rodgers to save them from themselves. So now they're back to square one. What does that mean? And of course, I think that you have to say that Zach Wilson has to start, but what does that also mean for who's backing Zach Wilson up? If Zach Wilson struggles, do you call Joe Flacco back? Do you call Matt Ryan? Do you call Carson Wentz? What is I know it's not pretty, but what's the backup plan here? Because if you go back to what you did last year, you need a backup plan. I don't know what that backup plan is, because the backup plan is now plan A. What's the plan B?
Right.
That's the question.
See, and I have been very critical of Robert Saleh's former organization, the 49ers, for making excuses about, hey, if we had done this at quarterback, we'd be in the Super Bowl or whatever. And they've cycled through the quarterback position. So that's one, that could be a negative, but that's also a positive. Yeah. Because that's also a strong defense. And they have gotten degrees of success out of Brock Purdy. They've gotten it out of Jimmy Garoppolo. They weren't quite able to get it out of Trey Lance. So those are so Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 guys they really didn't plan on. They thought it was going to be Trey Lance, and it became Garoppolo one year, and it became Brock Purdy another year. So the Jets are going to have to find that guy. Going to have to find somebody who's not spectacular. There are a lot of guys out there who are just okay. It's got to be a game manager.
Yep.
It's got to be somebody. Like I would go with, and this is, I'm telling you, there's no great name on the street right now where you say, there's the answer to solve their season. But I think they need they need somebody else in that locker room who's got the wisdom and a little bit of ability to understand what's around them and what he can and cannot do. Like, it's Colt McCoy-ish, somebody like that, where you bring him in and you know that you're not going to ask them to throw it 45 times a game. But if Zach Wilson doesn't get it, somebody who can come in and get you through a game. And it's kind of like, you mentioned Fitzpatrick, Reeta. It's kind of like what Fitzpatrick became in Tua's rookie year. Like Brian Flores, Tua didn't like it. Whenever Tua would do things that Brian Flores didn't like, he'd bring in Fitzpatrick just to get him through a quarter, get him through a half. Then they go back to Tua. Then they go back. So you need somebody like that who you can kind of yo-yo, but it's not a disaster. Because I tell you, I can't stand excuse makers. I don't want another year of the Jets saying, we could have if. Well, this is where you are right now. Aaron Rodgers is out for the year. You drafted this guy number 2 overall. If you don't think he was a bust, and Solid just said, we believe in him. That's why we didn't. That's why he's still here. Okay, he's still here.
Yeah.
Okay, he's still here. He's a number 2 overall pick. Figure it out.
Yep.
If that means Nathaniel Hackett has to scale it down to 35% of the offense, and you do what the Steelers did in Ben Roethlisberger's rookie year. They told him at times.
Oh yeah.
They said, first read. They said, first read. You ain't looking all around. You first read. If the first read's not there, it's like the first 8 games to him. If the first read's not there, okay, that's it. But you're not looking at the whole field. You're not gonna cost us. You're not gonna cost us a playoff appearance. We're gonna really limit the playbook for you. So that's what the Jets have to do.
And they went 15-1. Remember that Steelers team went 15-1. So we know that it can be done. Now I don't know what that's going to do when you get to the playoffs, but you would like to think that Zach Wilson would be more comfortable because this is his second chance to get it right. So he has to get it right now. And hopefully the talent around him will allow him to get it right. And help him along the way. There's just too much talent on this roster for him to really mess up. Again, I don't love that offensive line, but there's ways to scheme to help Zach Wilson in order to get that ball out faster or in order to give him more time in the pocket. You can do that. You can scheme that up. So I hope for Zach Wilson, whatever lesson he learned, hopefully he did learn one last year, he's taken that in and helped himself learning from Aaron Rodgers while he was there, and now he can formulate that into being the starting quarterback that the Jets need because they need a starting quarterback. They are ready. They just got to get a guy that can make some plays.
Reeta, tough conversations and learn lessons. I think that might be the theme of our next block. We're going to talk about some stories that might be difficult, might be uncomfortable. Tough conversations, learn lessons coming up next on Brother from Another. We got Natalie coming up too. All right, well, there's the headline. Dan Wetzel, fine columnist for Yahoo, says Mel Tucker is likely done at Michigan State. His rise to power is matched by this fall from grace. And it's a really interesting story. Michigan State has known about the story as we bring in our own Natalie, fantastic producer on talent extraordinaire from Brother from Another.
Thank you.
Michigan State has known about this story for a while. USA Today came out with a report, and because of the USA Today report, Michigan State then makes the move to place Mel Tucker, the football coach, on leave with an unpaid leave. Hey, we knew about this, but new information has come to light. And as Michael Smith said yesterday, what's the new information? The new information is that USA Today is reporting it.
Yes.
There was no new information. You just got called out on it. And so now everybody's saying, what are you going to do? And now Michigan State says, we're going to put him on a leave without pay. He's got a 10-year, $95 million contract. They finished number 10 last year in the nation. They lost 2 games. Program going in the right direction. And then this drops. Natalie, these stories are always complex when you're talking about adults. at the corporate level, in romantic sexual relationships, what was your first thought when you heard about this story between Mel Tucker and a person who said, look, this was an unwanted romantic attention, and Mel Tucker did some things that I didn't approve of?
Yeah, I mean, I had very mixed emotions, but I think the biggest sentiment is disappointment. I feel disappointed. I think it's important that people understand how investigations work, because I actually used to conduct these types of investigations. And when you're looking into matters like this, not Title IX per se, but just allegations of sexual harassment, when you're looking into matters like this, it's a fact-finding exercise. So the investigator is just trying to determine what they can corroborate and substantiate and what they can't. Everything that gets alleged is put in the report, and then you say, I can substantiate this and I can substantiate that. This couldn't be substantiated. And then you'd make a credibility assessment, right? And the credibility assessment is of each person you talk to. And so right now, based on everything that we've read, the information that was released, Tucker doesn't look very credible. And she seems to be more credible. And I see people online discussing things like...
By the way, let me just interject real quick. I should have said her name, Brenda Tracy. She's an activist, and she has spoken to numerous colleges, college football teams and other sports teams about violence, about the violence and how violence on college campuses and the steps they need to do. Mental and physical steps they need to do to avoid being in those situations. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the reason she does this is because she's a victim herself. She was a victim of rape. And so she now is an advocate, and she has this program, and she goes around and she works with various schools, right? So you just have to, one, question the judgment, right? Like, not even on a matter of, okay, well, is it real? Did he do this? But just the judgment and wanting to even get into this kind of relationship with this person, right? And then, like I said, there's a credibility determination. I was incredibly disappointed by what I read. And I would like people, and Reeta, I'm sure you can attest to this, but I would like people to sort of think of this from a woman's perspective, which I know is hard, because I see people saying things like, well, like, because, in the report, it says, like, she didn't get off the call when the activity that he's alleged to have done when they were on a phone call occurred. She didn't get off because she was just stunned. She was shocked. She didn't know what to do, right? And that might seem really extreme to people, but if we even take it back a step, right? I've been in situations professionally. She's thinking about her business, right? She has a business now, and she has relationships with schools. And even before it got to the point of that phone call, he had done things that she wasn't comfortable with. So some people may say, well, why didn't she speak up? But a lot of times we don't speak up because I know I've had people in this industry in my past job when I worked in sales, clients who made advances at me, who said things about my looks, my body. And I just sort of like brushed it off, laughed it off, because I didn't know if it would affect business. I'm trying to come up in this world. I want to have credibility. You need men to be your allies. And so sometimes we put up with things that we may not like because we feel we have to, and that's a very helpless feeling that I think sometimes people can't understand. So I don't know that that was the case for her, but when people are questioning these things, I just want people to understand that this is something women, professional women, go through in all industries. And there's all these things going through our mind that affect the decisions that we make.
I completely agree with everything that you said in that regard. And so we know that since then, Mel Tucker has come out himself, which is something that I don't remember too many people doing when they're being accused of something. But he came out and made a statement and said that this was a consensual relationship that both of them knew that they were a part of. And there's three things that I want to bring up in that regard. Number one, obviously, if that's true, because he claims that they texted and she called him at night numerous times. technology will allow him to tell his side of the story, if that's true or not, right? We live in a world that you can trace these types of things. So if that's true, I'm sure that he can be able to give the type of evidence that he needs. But number two, I'm with you, Nat, in that regardless of whether or not it's consensual or not, the judgment here is so poor that I don't understand. You're Mel Tucker, right? And look, we're not going to deal with his background because allegedly he claims he's separated from his wife. And so that's fine, whatever. But choosing a lady that you started with a business relationship with, just to me is so poor in taste and poor judgment. And also knowing the type of relationship that you're asking her to come in from a business perspective. I don't understand why you felt the need to do that. And then lastly, there's an unwritten responsibility I feel that Mel Tucker has to be better, to make better choices. You don't have that many black head coaches in the Power Five. Off the top of my head, guys, I can only think of 4. Him, Deion, Marcus Freeman, and James Franklin. I'm sure there might be more. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm telling you that those are 4 guys that I can tell you, and then everybody else, you would have to tell me, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I forgot about that person. The point is that it's not many of.
I think it's Mike.
Thank you, and Loxley. Thank you,
and then at Syracuse as well.
Okay, so 6. Yeah. We named 6 out of hundreds and hundreds of programs that exist. So you have a responsibility to represent the head coaches that look like you to be better than the people that don't look like you. Because you don't have these types of opportunities that come, every day, like a Dabo Sweeney, like anybody else. You have to fight harder for what it is that you have to do. So your lack of your lack of good judgment, to me, is worse than it's just as bad as the accusations that's being put out there. If it does come out that this was some type of mutual exclusive relationship that they had, why? That's my biggest question. Why? Why her? Why not find somebody else and do these types of things that don't have an effect on what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis? So now you're here and we're here having this conversation.
And listen, what you just said, why her? Why him? Lots of people have said that in relationships that they don't understand from the outside looking in. We got to be honest about that. That is a question that many of us have asked. Now, Reeta, you bring up an important point, and I think it's just, in all fairness, to be thorough here, to have this real conversation, I think we have to say, if his judgment is poor, if he has made decisions that are not wise, and yet he has not done anything criminally wrong, then, okay, just accuse him of poor judgment, but not of doing anything criminal. Okay, that's one thing. But if he's guilty of both, if he's guilty of poor judgment and sexual harassment, if he did do all these things that Brenda Tracy says that he has done, okay, that's a different conversation. And I think a lot of this, because of where he coaches, not just his position as head football coach at Michigan State, but where he is, he's at Michigan State, and so they've got a history of kind of protecting people and quieting things. And so if I'm Mel Tucker, and if I haven't committed a crime, I said, well, wait a minute. Don't try to put me in the same conversation as Larry Nassar. Larry Nassar was he was a criminal. He used his position to sexually abuse, sexually harass, children for 20 years.
Yep.
And so Mel Tucker thinks he's in a consensual adult relationship. He may be telling the truth. He may be lying. I don't know. But Larry Nassar is in a different category. I just wonder if we're even capable at Michigan State. Are they capable of doing the thing that Natalie says investigations are designed to do, and that is find facts? Are they in there to find facts, or have their minds been made up because of where they are? They're in Lansing, Michigan, at Michigan State, and there are a lot of layers to these kinds of stories.
And a lot of money on the line. Let's be clear on that, too.
Right,
it's a lot, $95 million. So there's that.
The investigator would be a third party investigator, usually typically a law firm, and usually people who have a lot of experience in investigations. And then it's up to the school to make a determination based on that. But I just want to be clear that with Nassar, that was criminal because it was children, right? Like sexual harassment, just because it may not be criminal, right? It can be a civil matter. I don't think it should be really treated any differently or taken any more lightly just because it's not criminal if it's determined that they can prove that it was sexual harassment. With respect to what you said, Reeta, in terms of, things will be able to be proven, it has been noted that they both deleted certain text messages. And that's why I kind of spoke to, and again, I'm not trying to offer a defense for her, but that's why I sort of spoke to sometimes, though, at least from a woman's perspective, what people go through, but not just the women in general. Like I've interviewed tons of clients, men and women, employees, when they do something, and sometimes they get rid of things because they don't know, they're scared, they think they're going to get in trouble, so now the record has just been corrupted. So it's not going to give the investigator a full picture. All they can notate is that certain things were deleted. This is where the parties agree. This is where they disagree, So that's why the credibility determination is so important. We'll see what happens in this matter. But just to your point really quickly about him being a Black coach, it's frustrating because it's not a responsibility that we should have to bear. Like when we do things, we shouldn't have to worry about it, but we do. And we all know that. And I know it's unfair, but it's any Black person in any position. And the higher you get, the higher that goes, the larger the responsibility. So that's why it's just so disappointing that you would do this and exercise this judgment, especially when you consider it being Michigan State and what already happened there. I mean, it's inexplicable, really, to be honest.
Allegedly, though. But let's speak of, but see that. But
to me, even if it's consensual, my point is, it's inexplicable even if it's consensual, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this is why companies have so many.
I think consensual changes everything. I think consensual changes everything, though.
It doesn't.
Obviously, it changes it from being abuse. It changes it from being from being abuse to being consensual, but the poor judgment is still there. I think is what Nat is saying.
But Natalie, how can you say that? Natalie, how do you say that?
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm going to tell you why, because this is why workplace relationships, and I consider this a workplace relationship because she was a vendor, the school did relationships with them, however you want to classify her. But the reason these kinds of relationships are so complicated and why many companies have policies against them is because the question of consent becomes very subjective because there's power dynamics at play. There's reasons why someone might consent. And when you have to go back and look at it, like she may have been consenting to certain things because like she thought, okay, I want to keep this business because it's good business and it helps my company, right? And I don't know that. I'm just saying, just like a superior, when they get into a relationship with someone who is not on their same level, it's the same thing. They say, oh, it was consensual. There's just so many power dynamics at play. So that's the poor judgment I'm talking about.
Natalie, but this is a little different. I could say I would agree with you.
And she's a rape survivor, Michael. She's a rape survivor.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm not going to get into that yet. But I will say, we had a conversation about this time last year. Honestly, it was surrounding Ime Udoka.
Yes.
And somebody who worked for. So he worked for the Celtics.
Yep.
This person worked for the Celtics. Okay, that power, all the things you said, power dynamics, same work relationship, same work site, for lack of a better phrase. In this case, Mel Tucker is not Brenda Tracy's boss. There are no power dynamics involved because that was one of many. We just said it. That was one of many businesses that she had. The relationship with Michigan State, it was not like, hey, Michigan State is my sole source of income. I don't think of him as her boss. You do?
It doesn't have to be your boss. It's a matter of that's why I use.
Well, how do you?
Well, that's why I use the example of business dealings, right? We don't know how much of her business that accounts for, and it's like in the report. One of the things that's alleged is like she was scheduled to do a session or meet and do something for them. And he canceled that. That's one of the things that's alleged, that he canceled it. Now, initially during the investigation, he said, yes, I did cancel it because allegedly her assistant had disclosed things that he had discussed with her and he was upset about it. Now he's claiming that he didn't cancel it. But that's the whole point, because now it starts to affect with your business. So there is still a power dynamic at play, because this man represents a university and he has the ability to help fund her business.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not I got that part. This is not, but I don't think it's the equivalent of working at the same place, because it's not, it's one of the tributaries going into her overall business. And not to say, oh, we can just get rid of one, you got 75 others, but it's it's not the sole. It's not the sole employer. That's not her sole employer. So I just think it's just a little different. It's not apples to apples. There are some dynamics, I'm sure, at play, but it's not like they work together and he can shut down her entire economic operation just by the snap of his fingers. Look, we don't know. We don't know what the real story is. I do feel, this is where I agree with most of what you two are saying. Where I disagree with you, Natalie, is if we find out that this was a relationship that they had going for a while, both of them, they had a relationship and the relationship went bad, which a lot of them do. A lot of them just don't have nice, smooth landings and say, okay, this relationship has run its course. You're going to go your way. I'm going to go mine. Most of the time, they do end in a way where one person is dissatisfied. But if we find out this was like, that was his girlfriend, she was his boyfriend, or whatever, boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, I think that changes everything for me. Doesn't mean that he displayed great judgment, but it changes the whole tenor of this conversation.
Yeah, but I just want to remind people that consent can be revoked and changed. It's not like everlasting. Yes. And also, when you're in relationships with someone, your partner can still violate you, can still assault you, can still do things that you're uncomfortable with. So the fact that at some point they could have had a consensual relationship doesn't completely just change the landscape. It wouldn't change if something that he did later became uncomfortable for her. Well, it wouldn't change those things.
Natalie, I'm 100%. I agree with that, but I'm saying, but if the way you just described it would be a different version of what's been said, because what's been said was that it was never romantic.
Right.
Like Brenda Tracy said, oh, no, I was never, it was never like that. It was one-sided. So if that comes out, if it comes out that at one point it was romantic and then the dynamics changed, well, the story has already changed. I just think, put it this way, I'm not taking any sides. I've learned over the years that I can't jump in. I cannot jump in and say, he's wrong, she's wrong. I need more information before I can come to a solid conclusion of what happened. I'm not sure what happened. I know it's a mess, but I'm not sure who's at fault. I don't know. And if that makes me a bad person for just not automatically believing it, well, I just need more information. That's all.
Particularly when he came out and said that it was consensual. So we're getting now two different sides of the story. So I think you want to know what the actual truth is now, because there's two different things that are being said. She's making it seem like that it was something that happened. He's making it seem like that this was something that they were doing on a regular basis. So I think that's why you feel like the dynamics will change and shift, because if she omitted that they were in a relationship, there becomes a credibility issue, for sure.
Right. But he's already since come out, contradicted things he's already said. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will see. That is the way. That is the way to end that. There's a lot more on this story, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in the coming months. All right, listen, Natalie and Reeta. We know Jim Trotter very well, friend of the show, longtime reporter, Hall of Fame voter, one of the most measured and respected voices and courageous voices in sports media. And the story came out today, this is from the New York Times, that Trotter has filed a racial discrimination claim against the league after he was dismissed from NFL Network. And Reeta, I'll start with you. Just your thoughts when you saw that this lawsuit was out there.
Not surprised. It did feel like his exit was not one that, he was prepared for. It didn't feel like it was amicable. So there's that. And the allegations that we've seen from this lawsuit, not surprised, right? We know the history with Jerry Jones, seen the pictures of him in places on the wrong side of history. So him saying, allegedly that blacks should get their own team. Yeah, sounds very Jerry Jones-like based on what we've seen from him in his path of his life before. And then the Bills head coach, saying, going back that way, we've heard.
Owner.
I'm sorry, the Bills owner, I apologize, going back and allegedly saying, people should go back to Africa. We've heard those things all of once in our lives before. It's definitely something that when you saw these allegations, no one was surprised, right? Was anyone surprised? I certainly was not. There's not one black owner in the NFL. So there's, they can, we've heard owners say other things before. Players is running the asylum and, all these other things. So we know that they've had these types of ideals in the past. So to me, it falls in line from what we've already had consumed about NFL owners. I'm just not surprised one bit. And I don't think Jim Trotter to me is a stand-up guy. I don't consider him to be any sort of a liar, to be clear.
Yeah. Natalie, what were your thoughts? Especially, Natalie, you can look at it from multiple perspectives. You have I don't know if our audience knows, most of our family knows you have a legal background as well. So just your thoughts, interested in your perspective on this.
Yeah, I was proud. That was my sentiment when I first heard about it. I was proud. And Jim is really courageous like this. I don't know if people can even grasp what it's like to take on an entity like the NFL. I'm happy that he did this. It's what he should have done when he was terminated. Just so people are clear, my past background is as an employment lawyer. I was like, oh, this needs to be a lawsuit and it needs to be a retaliation lawsuit. So that was my thinking when I heard of the termination. But a lot of people don't have the courage to do this regularly, much more against an entity like the NFL. So I am proud of Jim, and I just want to thank him for doing this on behalf of other people in media who look like us, on behalf of players, on behalf of many people who have felt they've been wronged by the league and the NFL. And I don't know what the outcome will be, but this is tremendous that he's doing this. He's putting a lot on the line by doing that. And I'm sure other fellow journalists will understand that. So I just want to send my love and support to Jim. I'm so proud of him. And this is a courageous thing to do.
Yeah, it's courageous. I think he knew what he was doing when he questioned Roger Goodell the first time, and he did it the second year in a row. He knew what was happening, but he had his convictions. He was passionate about this. He's been passionate about it, and I've talked to him on the air about it and off the air, and it's not something that he feels like, oh, I'm going to do this for attention. This is really who he is at his core, and there are many opportunities when people get to show you who they are in moments of crisis. A lot of people step up to that moment. Some people shrink. Clearly, Natalie and Reeta, Jim Trotter has stepped up, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how the NFL responds, but he sent notice today that he is not going away quietly, because he never has.
And I love that for him.
I just want to say, before I get to this, Reeta, I love you. Natalie, I love you. I just love these sisters right here. I love them. I love them. I love them.
Love you too.
Okay.
We love you too, family.
Very
love
much
these
so.
sisters. Anyway, Deion Sanders, Reeta and Natalie, I told Michael Smith this yesterday, all I think about is Colorado football. It's Ohio State 1 and 1A. It's Colorado. And Deion has been such a blessing to everybody involved with college football. I've seen so many stories. The ratings are off the charts. Paul Feinbaum threw it out there that Deion's going to replace Nick Saban at Alabama when Saban is done. People think
Dabo's
Deion is going. Yeah, he's going to the pros. All this stuff. I just want both of your thoughts on the phenomenon that is Deion Sanders.
Real quick for me, I'm a huge college football fan. I don't need Deion Sanders to watch. I watch all the time, every Saturday. It's my favorite sport out of all of them. But I am happy for the casuals that are finally getting on, because I've been telling y'all it's the best sport in the world, and
That's
now
me.
you
I'm
understand
casual.
why. I'm glad you're here. Thank you, Deion, for telling everybody it's the best sport in the world. So thank you for showing up to the party, because it's a party.
I'm casual. Don't criticize me too much. I just want to say this is great. It's great. I love it. The only thing I don't love, but I'm gonna wait a little bit because I'm just partaking in the celebration. But all these people now jumping on the Shedeur train and oh, he's great and he's this. Yeah, y'all gonna start getting called out soon because he was always this person, and y'all need to start paying more attention to HBCUs, okay? Because I think y'all split.
Well,
but I know the deal.
That conversation is going to keep happening because he's going to be a first-round pick. All right.
Yep.
We'll talk to y'all. Thanks for hanging out. See you tomorrow. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.